During the making of this video, the operators of various mines allowed the staging of certain conditions which may at first appear to be unsafe and/or not according to certain federal, state, and/or company safety procedures. These scenes were created strictly to demonstrate the difference between correct and incorrect safety and work procedures in the mining environment. They were immediately corrected after being recorded for this training video production. They in no way are a true reflection of the conditions or operations of the mines shown in this video production.
Well, hello, and welcome to another in our exciting series of mine safety training videos. Our topic today is dragline safety.
Draglines are some of the largest pieces of equipment on Earth. They literally have the ability to move mountains. These mammoth machines can be fairly small or gigantic depending on needs. A dragline may require a single operator or several workers to be functional. As the size of the dragline increases, so does the amount of workers. What are some of the hazards workers could be exposed to while working on draglines? In reviewing fatal statistics from past years, it seems that ground failure caused the most fatalities. 2 of the ground failures resulted in drowning, since the dragline was located near a water-filled pit. 2 other fatalities resulted from workers being hit by falling material. Falling from an elevated work platform accounted for another. And finally, a worker was struck by the shoe of a dragline while moving. Let's take a closer look.
Since Mr. Page's invention in 1903, the dragline has evolved from antiques such as this to more modern machines such as this, or like this Lima 2400B with a 7-yard bucket, or this Manitowoc 6400 with an 18-yard bucket. Dragline buckets have increased in size from one like this used in the early days to a bucket such as this used today.
Nicknamed the Big Muskie, this Bucyrus series dragline began work in 1969 and cost $25 million to build. It took 3 years to build this massive machine. 3 years is not bad if you consider the fact that it weighed 27 million pounds, had a 220 cubic yard bucket, stood 222 feet high, and 310 feet in length. This dragline utilized 5-inch diameter cables and was powered by 13,800 volts. Was the Big Muskie a good investment? In nearly 30 years of service, she removed over 608 million yards of overburden and uncovered nearly 20 million tons of coal. Not bad. The walking dragline is the primary excavating machine used on some surface operations. These machines are capable of enormous production. Consider that these machines are able to reach depths of 213 feet and have the capacity of up to 220 cubic yards of material, and you can understand why. Many of these machines are powered by electricity and consume as much energy as a small town. In addition, an operation can count on the services of a dragline for as much as 40 years. If an operation has the reserves and capital, a dragline is possibly the most economical way to go. A dragline is a very complex piece of equipment. It has many moving parts and weighs thousands of pounds. Every single component of the machine is massive. A great deal of attention must be given to detail in order to work safely around these monsters. 2 very important aspects of dragline safety are performing the proper pre-shift examination on the machine and a thorough examination of the work area, especially ground conditions. Most companies will provide an in-depth checklist to assist an operator in his examination. It might also be necessary to enlist the help of maintenance people who specialize in various fields. Knowing that the machine is going to function properly is a good first step in having a safe workday. Let's now examine ground conditions. Federal law dictates that mining methods be used that will maintain wall, bank, and slope stability. In addition, it states that a person experienced in examination and testing for loose ground shall be designated by the operator. This person must perform the examination prior to work commencing. During excavation, constant care must be taken by the dragline operator to ensure the stability of the foundation from which they are working. Of paramount importance is the positioning of the dragline. The dragline should be positioned perpendicular to the pit rather than parallel. Such has been the case in past fatals involving failure of ground. Had the dragline been positioned differently, it would not have fallen into the pit. Proper distances from the edge should be maintained, as well as sloping the bench away from the high wall. Since many pits are below the water table, ground control problems are directly related to water hazards. Let's take a look at dragline safety around water. Data shows that most fatalities resulting from ground failure while using draglines are actually the result of drowning. Depending on the size of the dragline and the formation of the material being extracted, water depth in these areas can be as much as 100 feet or more. That's why a buffer zone and positioning is so critical. Dragline operators should ensure that the machine's track brakes or equivalent device is set and the machine is indeed stationary before beginning work. If work must be performed in an area that is potentially hazardous, only experienced and fully trained operators should be used. In order to prepare for the worst case scenario, be certain to store flotation devices in the operator's cab and require personal flotation devices to be worn when deemed necessary. One thing is for certain, if the ground fails and the dragline falls into the water, it is not going to float. Prevention is always the best course.
All right, Ben, how about we go take a look at the drag line? I'll show you around a little bit.
Great.
All right. What we want to do is stay out of the red zone.
What's the red zone, Mark?
Well, red zones are certain radiuses that we have on the machine. For instance, one is a fan tail. That would be the back end of the machine where you see the two counterweights hanging down.
Okay.
Those swing around. You want to stay out of those, stay on the outside of them, and be careful when you're on the inside.
Okay.
Because there's crushing hazards and such. Boom radius is from the boom point all the way around. You want to stay out of there because there's something might fall off the boom.
Okay.
And of course the bucket's in that area too.
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
Now the working radius is anywhere where he might be dumping the bucket and any material might fly off when he dumps, splatter off the pile, maybe off the backfill when he's throwing rock and filling holes like we got here.
Right.
And those are the areas you want to watch out for.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Walk up and take a
Yep.
look.
Let's walk up and take a look.
All right.
Due to the enormous size of draglines, maintenance can sometimes be hazardous. In reviewing past fatalities, two areas that have come to surface that affect maintenance personnel are working in elevated areas and falling material from the buckets. Federal law dictates that elevated walkways be provided with handrails to prevent persons from falling. In the event that the work area is not conducive to handrails, fall protection must be worn. Many later models of draglines are equipped with the stair system on the boom to make dragline safety more convenient. When maintenance must be performed on the bucket or drag rope, the operator must position the bucket correctly, and the maintenance people must ensure that no residual material is left in the bucket. Falling from a distance of 18 to 20 feet, it would take very little material to injure or kill a worker. Electrical hazards are a constant concern in mining, and draglines are no exception. Many draglines are powered by electricity and receive that power through a cable. Great care must be taken by other pieces of equipment working in the area to prevent damage to the power cable. In addition, the cable must be properly restrained where it attaches to the machine to prevent damage to the cable. If cables must be moved manually, insulated hooks, tongs, ropes, or slings shall be used unless suitable protection for workers is provided by other means. If work must be performed inside panels and motors located inside the dragline, all lockout tagout procedures must be followed. Remember, only those persons qualified should perform electrical maintenance. Moving a dragline could be described as taking your dinosaur out for a walk. Your number one priority is not to get stepped on. In order for this to happen, you must communicate, communicate, communicate. A person on the ground should be designated to coordinate movement. Other workers involved in the move must remember to notify the operator before getting on or off of the dragline. Notify the proper person before entering the work area, and be certain to communicate your location at all times. Dragline operators must ensure that all personnel are clear of the machine before placing the dragline in motion. Attention must be given to the power cable also, and plans made to establish a proper escape route. The layout for the cable must be established before digging begins. A dragline is a slow walker, but because he's the biggest kid on the block, you'd better stay out of his way or you might get stepped on. Let's review. Draglines are some of the slowest walkers ever created. It took a dragline named Old Faithful nearly 23 years to walk approximately 598 miles. That's 602,259 steps. Not a speed demon for sure. Draglines weigh millions of pounds and need a heck of a foundation before it can function. Draglines are so dense that they can't swim a lick. Draglines are as dependent as a baby. They need constant attention and care. What then makes these enormous dinosaurs so valuable? They can move more material quicker than anything on Earth.
As probably the best known dragline operator that we know, our old buddy Fred Flintstone would say as he went off to work at bedrock quarries every morning, yabba dabba doo. Until our next exciting mine safety training video, work safe